here with Hannah in the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, the world's premier mermaid, who is also an environmentalist and underwater model. Hi Hannah, thank you for spending the afternoon with me.
Thank you, Raquel. So great to be here with you.
Okay. So Hannah swam in the most dangerous waters in the world. Have you ever had any close encounters with the marine life?
I certainly have. Swimming with great white sharks in Guadalupe Island in Mexico was one of the most intense experiences I've ever had. I woke up with sweaty palms, having nightmares for weeks before this experience. And it was definitely one of my greatest fears. I always viewed sharks as like these incredible predators, these killers that were just out to get me, and I really think that's what most people experience sharks to be. So to go out there and to see into this gorgeous blue water and to see that these animals are actually very graceful, magnificent, powerful animals that have a beauty that I never recognized before really changed my whole perspective on interacting with animals in the ocean. And of course, after coming through that successfully, I was insufferable. I was like, I've faced up a great white shark. I could do anything, But there was one moment where, most of the time they would circle around and they'd check you out. But there was a moment where it just started coming straight towards me. And
what did you do?
Well, I had been told to show it who's boss. And I was like, I don't even know if I can remember to do anything in that moment. But, everything slowed down. And I had this moment where I looked it straight in the eye. And I was like, okay, I'm going to show you who's boss. I lifted up my hands. I started swimming towards it and screaming at the top of my lungs underwater, which sounded like but, it totally took off. It was like, well, obviously that's not dinner.
So what do you think the marine life recognize you as? Do they know you're a human? Do they think you're a fish?
I often wonder this myself. I wonder if they think, oh, look at the cute retarded dolphin and take pity on me, or if they're just like, oh, wow, this human's made a really good effort. We'll go and play with you. I had this incredible experience in Tonga with the whales where a baby whale came and decided it just wanted to hang out with me. It kept coming up to the surface, checking me out, looking me in the eye, lifting its little fin up next to me for over an hour. And then the mother came up underneath it and stood up in the water right next to me, and I swam directly towards it, and there was this just moment of connection. So yeah, we were like a couple meters away from each other, and it just hung out there in the water looking at me. It wasn't scared, but it was just like, hey, I'm here, you're here, we're having a connection. Then they started singing to each other.
What does that mean when they sing?
Whales have the most incredible song, and scientists have actually evaluated that whale song has so much encoded information in it that each whale song is like equivalent to a dictionary's worth of information. So we don't know what they're saying, but they are saying a lot. They are communicating a lot of information. Wow. So and it was so loud under the water that it was like being in front of a huge speaker stack. It was reverberating through every cell in my body. My ribs were shaking. The baby's song was really high-pitched, like a trumpet. And so it was just like this cacophony of sound, and I was in the middle of it. And I tell you, after I got out and I was sitting on the boat afterwards, I just started crying because something happened. I honestly feel like it rearranged my DNA or something. It was an extraordinary experience.
When you were underwater, were you using a mask to breathe, or how does that work?
I don't use mask or air unless I'm going very deep into the ocean. So most of the time I'm free diving. I'm not using a mask, so everything is somewhat blurry. Right. And I've trained myself through yoga and meditation and breathing techniques to hold my breath for up to 2 minutes at this point.
So when you're at almost coming up to the second minute, what are you thinking? What are you thinking the whole time when you're underwater holding your breath?
It's really interesting, when I am wearing my tail, it's like it gives me some kind of superhuman powers because I feel so at one with the ocean. The movement that it gives me is so flowing and so connected to how animals move that my brain starts to work in a different way. I know it sounds strange, but it's like I integrate in such a way that I can hold my breath longer when I wear it. And it seems like the animals respond to me in a much more positive fashion.
So it's almost like you're not thinking any specific thoughts. You don't have to think about holding your breath. You're just enjoying, just like you are in regular life, just enjoying the experiences around you.
Yeah, it's like I have a certain amount of time where I'm not thinking about the breath, and then it comes very quickly. It's like, oh my God, I need air. And then there's like this sort of a panic where you're like, okay, got to make that happen really soon. And there has been a couple of moments when a shark in the Bahamas decided I looked tasty, and I was right at the end of my breath hold. And as I was swimming to get air, a shark grabbed onto the end of my tail and started pulling me around. And this is the one thing that as a professional mermaid and as doing this crazy job that I do, I've trained myself not to freak out in those moments when you need air and you're not getting it. Because if I had tried to get to the surface or, lost the hold of the breath that I did have, then that's death. So luckily I didn't taste very good. He spat me out, and then I went and got the air without freaking out.
I think you're so lucky, and I really hope that that's the closest encounter you ever have, because you still need air and you still are human,
Yeah, I do wish that I didn't need the air, but I'm training, and hopefully I'll get up to a much higher number, and I'll just be able to hang out down there much longer.
You are so incredibly unique, and with a lot of unique people, you often hear stories about them being faced with adversity. What have you told yourself to kind of fight through some of this?
Well, it depends what you mean by adversity. The first thing that I think about when you say that is, other people's perceptions. In one way, it's like, obviously, it's not a normal job. It's not something where you're like, oh, I'm a doctor and I make a certain amount this year. So there's a lot of adversity just in my own self-confidence in believing that I can make this a lifestyle, and just following it, continuing every single day, despite what anybody says. And luckily, I've been blessed with a fair amount of self-confidence, so I've been able to make this my passion and my dream and continue on this path. And adversity in the sense that, going back to the Taiji Japan situation, I really want to come from a place of understanding all of the different cultures in the world and everybody's different needs, and showing people a better way rather than telling them they're wrong, inspiring people rather than depressing them with awful statistics and all of the awful things that are happening in the world these days. So really my mission is to create beauty and understanding and collaboration with the people and the animals in the planet.
That sounds wonderful. You also are, I guess, every little girl's dream. Every little girl wants to grow up and be a mermaid. You are a mermaid. You're the world's premier mermaid. So you must get lots of fan mail and touching letters from them, I imagine. Can you think of anything that's really touched you the most?
Actually, yes. There was a girl who wrote to me a year or so ago, and she was facing some really serious health issues. She could hardly walk. She was very sick. She was overweight. And she told me the story of how she'd seen what I was doing. She was in rehab therapy for her body, and the only thing that kept her going and kept her motivated was that she wanted to have a mermaid tail like what she'd seen me doing. And she practiced so hard, she worked so hard to create strength in her muscles so that she was able to get a mermaid tail and to swim, and now she has taken it on as like her professional thing. She wants to be a professional mermaid. Her health has gotten better. She's finished all of her rehab, and she just thanked me from the bottom of her heart for inspiring her through such a difficult time in her life. So things like that continue to motivate me, so it's like this wonderful circle of inspiration.
What do you hope to get out of your experience this year in Cannes?
This year in Cannes has been so beautiful just to kind of see what's going on, see the passion of all the different filmmakers, and to have the experience to swim in Scandia Aquarium was sensational. I never expected that I would be swimming right next to the film festival in a beautiful aquarium, like literally next door. I couldn't have set up a better situation. So super beautiful, and it's to pave the way for next year when I am releasing my own documentary called Tears of a Mermaid. And this follows the journey of my underwater adventures and the environmental activism that I'm doing and all of the amazing people that I've come into contact with. Because through this journey, I'm meeting the most incredibly knowledgeable, passionate, dedicated ocean activists that I really want to highlight what these people are doing and the solutions that are happening from people all these issues that are happening. People are finding the most innovative, incredible, creative solutions. So I really want to highlight that in the film.
Well, I hope you get the most publicity here in Cannes so you can continue to inspire people. I hope tons of people still write to you. And I have one final question. Do you ever think about making your husband dress up like a merman?
I have a boyfriend, and he has actually asked me to create a tale, which is under construction right now. So we'll see how that goes.
I wish you the absolute best of luck. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Raquel.